What is going on? It's Alex coming back at you with another video. And today we are doing the week 9 stock report for the 2024 NFL draft. If you are new, feel free to like, comment, subscribe to that fun YouTube jazz. You guys know what to do. And of course, join all of the links down below. I do not have them below my face this time. However, there are plenty of links that are in the description for you guys to take advantage of and have a good time, including joining that Discord where we have about 700 members, which is great. And again, eventually, we'll be getting into tape studies when all that tape is readily available. Let's get right into this. Let's have some fun. Starting out with our stock up stars of the week. And that started out with Braylon Trice, 16 pressures versus Stanford. Ridiculous. Obviously, he had a slow start to the year, was kind of a little bit on the stock down portion because, he had 30% pass rush win rate. All of a sudden, he's in the 20s, if not even the teens. He's getting back up there into the 20s. So good for him. He's been doing phenomenally recently. And, he did actually end up putting on, I think, 4 or 5 pounds. So, he might have been getting a little bit more comfortable with his body. Obviously, doesn't have a big club on his hand anymore. There is an adjustment period. So it's good to see him bounce right back. Obviously, I was a big fan of him early on at above 270 pounds. My comp for him is Bud Dupree, but a little bit better. And that's kind of perfect for a team that will not have Bud Dupree on it after this year. So Falcons are a great spot for him to go. I don't think people see him as much as talented of a player as I do. Let's put it that way. I think of him as just someone who's extremely special and, one of those guys who are roughly a blue chip player. And if he continues playing like this, he'll move right back up there. But he's just on the outside of blue chip at the moment. Next, we got Ollie Gordon. He's back. Obviously, I didn't really realize last time I did the video that he was not even a junior yet. I thought he was a redshirt sophomore, but I think he's an actual true sophomore at this point. So got to give him a shout out. Got to give out Travis Hunter a shout out as well. I know it kind of bends the rules a little bit because it's for the 2024 draft, but Ollie Gordon put up 270 yards. I think he put up like 270 last week as well. Dude's going off. So over 500 yards in 2 games, obviously deserves a big shout. So got to give that out there. But the guy who I want to mention is Drake May. 7 big time throws, 0 turnover worthy plays. That is admirable to say the least. Not many guys will be able to put up that type of statistic ever. Even guys like Caleb Williams have a hard time putting up that type of statistic. So glad that Drake May was able to perform at that level. Obviously, I am hoping that he continues to be that consistent because he's had some struggles here and there. But again, wins or losses, it's partially a team stat, heavily dictated by the quarterback. But when the points are, extremely high because of those big time throws, I'm not going to put a loss or even a very close victory of a game that should have won by a larger margin into the hands of a quarterback. Again, that's kind of similar to Caleb Williams this past week, 50-49 versus Cal. It's like you should win by a larger margin, but it was not Caleb Williams' fault at all. So Drake May, got to give him credit where credit is due. He's performed phenomenally over the past week, so good for him. Stock up, we are going to be starting out with Tavondre Sweat, 92 PFF defense grade. Just overall absolute dominant threat versus the run game. Also has a lot of really good pass pro reps, and not pass pro, but pass rush reps. Dude just knows how to bring it at 360 pounds. You cannot find very many guys who come close to the consistency and high-level play that he has at that size. At Def 1, Olufosho, he's been one of the highest graded. I think he might be the highest graded Pac-12 defender at the moment at, I believe, an 86-plus grade. He had over 90 grade this past week. I don't think he's a great coverage linebacker, but he is my number 64 player on my board currently. And he is an elite run defender and very, very smart, can pass rush as well. He's a talented player. I don't think he's bad in any stretch of the imagination. Obviously, you cannot be that bad to garner a grade like that. But he is somebody who I have a lot of respect for. And, he's going to be a good addition in the NFL. Maybe not a 3-down linebacker, but he sure as hell could be one of those guys coming in on 1st and 2nd down, being a legitimate run supporter. You got Jared Verse and Jasheen Davis both got 8 pressures respectively against each other in that Wake Forest FSU game. Jasheen Davis is red hot, and he looks really good too. One of those guys who's quickly rising up my board. Jared Verse finally back on track after a all right, not bad by any stretch, but all right performance versus Duke. You got Edgerrin Cooper here. He had over 90 coverage grade as a linebacker, just super well balanced. PFF's number 1 linebacker at the moment. Does not have a grade yet, but will have a grade very soon. Al Blades, 15 yards allowed and 2 pass breakups. For Duke, where they're not necessarily doing too hot, this is a rare bright spot. Al Blades has actually been pretty damn solid for him. Got to give him credit where credit is due. Tao Johnson for Utah has been lights out since week 1. He's just been making plays, and I could tell that he's going to be a very special NFL player. Somebody who I think that I should start putting in more of my mock drafts because he is a very, very talented and underrated defensive back. You get the UCLA defensive line. I could have listed them, all 3 of them here, but all of them got 9 pressures as well. So the Murphy brothers, Grayson and Gabriel, as well as Leatu, Latu, they are performing out of their minds right now. And, it is versus Boulder, fair, but, 27 pressures split between 3 guys. That's kind of ridiculous. And all evenly, they definitely had their way. Got to give him credit where credit is due. BJ Green, I just don't even want to delete his name anymore because he's going to have another 5 pressure or 6 pressure week. He's top 10 in the nation in overall pressures, and he's a hybrid defensive lineman. I think he's over 270 pounds. So, it's intriguing. He definitely needs a grade soon. Jonathan Brooks, 12 missed tackles forced on 16 carries. Got to give credit where credit is due. I don't think he's necessarily the best back on planet Earth, but he's a really solid one. And he definitely deserves a crack at potentially being a fringe starter in the NFL. And again, we're seeing this running back class not necessarily excelling, but it is what it is. Starting out with the dud of the week for Stock Report Down, we have Tyler Van Dyke. And he didn't perform necessarily poorly. He had 0 big-time throws and 3 turnover-worthy plays. It is poorly. But it wasn't like an all-time bad performance. There's some other guys who, they've had plenty of worse ones. The issue is there were 0 pressures allowed this game. 0. And you don't get 1 big-time throw. You throw 3 turnover-worthy plays with 0. Let me repeat that. 0 pressures allowed. That makes no sense. That just shows that you cannot play quarterback. And that really sucks because I have a lot of faith in Tyler Van Dyke. I thought he could have been a really, really good prospect. He could have been like Mac Jones, but a little bit better. Obviously, it's why I have the Dream Fits Patriots. But, I feel like some people will still take a shot on him. Some of his deep balls are absolutely insane. He has all the upside in the world. But when you can't perform, when nothing is going against your way, definitely is a cause for concern. Next, we got Stocktown, the rest of the dudes. We got McKinley Jackson, 0 pressures this week. I don't get it. I really don't. Like it doesn't make sense why these high upside pass rushers are not getting pressures. Tyler Davis and Xavier Thomas and David Van all got 1 pressure each. So again, I think Tyler Davis is more of a pass rushing specialist. Same thing with McKinley Jackson. Xavier Thomas he's an athletic freak. I don't think it's a big knock to him, but he's still. I was hoping for a little bit more for being a top 40 player on my board. David Van, again, hoping that, given his success versus some very talented interior offensive linemen, could get a little bit more than 1 pressure. Will Shipley, 3.5 yards per carry and 0 missed tackles forced. Just overall, that's inefficient. I know that the rest of the offense is not performing very well either, but, I just would hope that Will Shipley could perform a little bit better, especially at least making a couple guys miss, since I think it's one of his best traits. And then you got Leonard Taylor, 0 pressures. I don't know what's up with this guy. It's going to be like a 4 pressure, 6 pressure, 8 pressure, or 0 pressure game. And unfortunately, those 0 pressure games are starting to come up a little bit too often for someone who I've been talking about as the best player on the field when he's out there. Riley Leonard, he had 2 big-time throws this past week, which is, again, solid. 3 turnover-worthy plays. Not a big fan of that. I know he's nursing that ankle, but 121 yards. After putting up sub 100, he's had, I believe, under 200 yards combined in terms of passing over the past 2 games. I debated keeping him as the dud of the week, but, he performs under quite a bit of pressure. Didn't even have Graham Barton this past week. So, again, you got to give a little bit of cushion there. Kingsley Suamataia allowed 3 pressures this past week. I got into an argument with somebody on Twitter over the value of this left tackle class. I think it's a pretty weak one. You got the 2 top guys, and that's excellent. Again, like, most classes should have top end talent. If a class doesn't have a top end talent, I don't know why we would consider it good in the first place. So it at least qualifies to not be an awful class or a poor class. Weak doesn't mean it's a bad class. It's just not a strong class. It's not even like, like the next tier of guys. You got Kingsley Suamataia in there who should be projecting to right tackle. You got Jordan Morgan, who has his own shortcomings. I think he's solid enough. I think he could potentially start in the NFL, but there's still major questions over that. And then the next guy, Patrick Paul, I don't have faith in. So again, it's probably my view on Patrick Paul that really changes the definition of weak compared to solid class. But you got Karan Ahmad. Hold on, I'm gonna try to remember this name. Ahmed Ajay. Ahmed. Yeah, let's not do that again. But he has the most potential of the remaining left tackles. Julian Pearl has been extremely underwhelming. Like there's just not a good left tackle class, y'all. You have 2 starters. The rest are you're praying to God that they could potentially start. I don't know why that would be a good class. It's a good top of the class, but it's not a good class. That's like saying you have like these 2 dudes who have 1600s on their SATs and everybody else was getting, on average like 950. You're not going to say that your class is stacked. You're going to say that you have a stacked top of the class. So I got to just put that out there. Cedric Gray, 4 missed tackles this past week. As somebody who I've given some credit to, I've got to give him a little bit of a knockdown there. Talise Fuaga, this is the grand finale. Taylor Upshaw got 2, if not 3. I watched the game entirely. It might have been 3, but it was recorded as 2 pressures versus him. Talise, again, he's a generational level prospect. It's, if I'm putting him on here for allowing 2 pressures, I'm being nitpicky. But I had to just talk about it because he did this past week. And obviously, when I put him as my number 3 player, I expect him to get 1 pressure or less. Watching him, it just looked like he got caught off guard by Taylor's speed to power. And he bounced back. That's the key thing. You bounce back after those reps. Now, he got the best of him 3 times during that game. And they seemed roughly similar. But, the first pressure was because he didn't mirror him properly. And Talise got out of position in the pocket and pretty much let up an easy pressure to the inside. The second one was he just got driven back a little too much. I just didn't think he was preparing for the type of power Upshaw was bringing. And then the third one that I was like really honing in on, he just got kind of a little bit bent around the edge a little too much. But, again, those are acceptable losses, so to speak. I think that he's going to obviously be a continual threat, but I had to bring it up. It's more of a shout out to Taylor Upshaw than it is a knock to Talise Fuaga. Because Talise has been an absolute monstrosity this year. And still, in my opinion, arguably the best tackle I've ever studied. It's just for the talent level that Oregon State produces on the offensive line, which is not at the same level as like Oregon. So, when we're talking about Penei Sewell, we're talking about Evan Neal at left tackle, like those guys who I thought were creme de la creme, like you don't expect that from Oregon State. You expect that from those other 2 programs. So for me, I think Talise might be, because of the expectations with Oregon State, the best tackle I've ever studied. But, there's obviously a caveat there. So that is going to be the video. Thank you so much for watching and supporting as always. See you on the far side. Peace.